Meet the team that doesn't just talk about impact, they ignite it. Jim Morris and producer Rachel.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, when you are in the phase of startup, when you're in the phase of growth, when you're in the phase of creation, when you're in the phase of building, like, I get excited for the weekends because clients aren't calling me, they're off, right? Like, folks in my life are, you know, with their families and spending time and doing the things or traveling and doing the 48-hour weekend trip. So like, it is more time for me to focus on the business. And when I broke the cycle of, Monday through Friday, like just buzz off on the weekends, like that never got me anywhere I wanted to be or in alignment with any of my goals. So it's funny now as you grow through this and mature through it and you're running a business or you're building something or you're crafting an idea, or even if it's just content, like when are those times that give you the most energy and you can plug in and just keep moving through what you're trying to build or what you're trying to create, knowing that there's less distractions, knowing that there's less things that pop up during those time periods.
Well, also, do you remember what Brian Covey said about, you know, when you're taking your kids to like their sports things and like whatever it is on the weekends, whatever it is they're doing where you don't need to be like present, you're just kind of watching, do something else at the same time. So whether it's like going for a walk or working out or checking emails, right? Like use the time. You have little babies, so they're not really like in sports yet, but you'll get there, Jim, and it's so fun. Being the Uber driver. It's great. I love it so much. But that takes time. And so when you're a business owner, you have to maximize the time that you do have and see where those little stretches are. For me, because I've got older kids that are like active and doing things, weekends are like, oh God, here we go. Because it's like I have to fit everything in somehow and be present as a parent, which I've been horrible at, which is such a drain because I feel guilty. I have such parent guilt. We were leading up to a huge launch. Things had to get done. Time is what it is. I can't extend it. I'm not magic. And then you also know when you save something for later, but you're exhausted, and then that later comes and you're like, I should have just done this earlier. Like do the things where you can. Don't save it for your tomorrow self. That's what I keep learning. My tomorrow self is going to be so pissed at me because I keep saving all these things for her to do. Today sometimes is the best time to do it.
What a mic drop moment. Do it now. Do it today. Don't save it for tomorrow. I think you're 100% correct in that statement, Rachel. And for me specifically in my life, every time all right, so let me back up. When you're doing a lot of things, when you have a lot of balls in the air, when you're showing up, when you're, you know, maximizing your effort, when you are doing new scary things, when you're doing a lot of things, when you're learning, things take longer. So in that moment when you are pushing through and you're doing all those things, it is I think for me a situation where I've got to recognize the energy that takes, and then I've got to build in some of those moments to recharge, some of those moments to spend with the kiddos. You know, similar to you, right? Like I could feel it yesterday. Ellie, my 2.5-year-old daughter, you know, she wanted daddy all day long because I saw her in the morning, I gave her a kiss in the afternoon, and that was really it. So I could feel that too. And what Brian Covey said about, you know, work-life balance and talking about that level of integration hit home for me, because there's so many things. Like if you're at the ball game with your kiddo and you're watching, do you have to watch every single play knowing that your kid may just be standing in the outfield picking the daisies and like just doing his thing or her thing? Like I'm not saying not to support the family. I'm not saying not to show up, but to his point, he was present. And instead of watching, you know, the game in its entirety and paying so much attention or conversing and chatting with the parents and doing the whole social thing, what hit me when he was saying that was, that's just entertainment. So are you going to choose entertainment, or are you going to be strategic and do the things that grow your health, grow your wealth, grow your mind, feed your soul. And that level of integration he was talking about was just it hit me so hard, because I'm like, there's so many things in life that we can make a decision on. And those things are either going to give me energy or drain my energy. And if I am with my child before an event, I'm still there during, and I'm there after, but I can also accomplish something that feeds me in that same time, then what I'm doing is I'm doubling my schedule of time during the day, right? And it may be that 30-minute practice or that hour practice, and you may only be able to, do something for work or mindset or learning or skill building for maybe 20 minutes, but that's 20 minutes added on to your day. Successful people, they have the same amount of time on the clock every single day as people who aren't successful. And I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about business, whatever your definition of success is. But you have to realize that there is opportunity and things that need to be learned to maximize that time and to live a day and a half when most are living a half a day, right? We still have 24 hours. Producer Rachel has the same 24 hours. You listening, the Impact Effect members have the same 24 hours. So are you going to do the things with it that maximize the energy or mitigate the energy? And in some cases, steal all of the energy, right? Like I had a conversation yesterday with someone where it was an hour meeting and we ended in about 20 because it was just not jiving. Like there was no connection, and that's okay. That's okay. But I know that, do I entertain that person for another 40 minutes, or do I end the call and give them back the time and myself the time? Because yes, I would love to meet with people. I love to chat with people, but if there is an alignment, then that drains my energy. So I need to remove myself from that situation when I identify if there's alignment or not. And out of respect for that person, I don't want to keep kicking that can down the road and not be present in the conversation, because it's really hard when I'm not aligned with someone, to just be present, because the indicators are telling me, ooh, no. The energy is pushing me literally back. I did muscle testing around energy with Chelsea Albert. She's amazing therapist, and it blew my mind. Like I would say something out loud and my body would lean forward or lean away and backwards, and I was like, wow, the body and mind is that's wild to me. I don't know, maybe it's not wild to others, but
no, it's fascinating. And we need to do a session with her for everybody, because like muscle testing is amazing when you really can listen to your body. And I know people that aren't like in that aligned space right now are probably hearing this like, what are they even talking about? It is amazing when you can listen to what your body's telling you. There's these little cues that go along the way in your day. Your body will literally tell you exactly how you're feeling. You just have to listen. Most of us don't listen. That's the same thing with like the time audits, right? Like, when you're spinning your wheels, when like you're burning the candle at both ends, when you're not using your time correctly, but you're not making the shift. You have to bridge the gap between like, I know what I'm doing is not working, and coming up with a solution, right? There has to be a moment, because I can't imagine you were this perfect all the time, right? You didn't just do a time audit and like everything was fine afterwards, right? Can you explain to people that be in a situation where you become cognizant of it? Once you're aware of it, though, you have to be ready to make that change. And it's not easy to do right away. What Jim is explaining on how he started to make these changes, it wasn't like in one day he snapped his fingers and all of a sudden he's using his time wisely. Can you explain to people how they can, number one, recognize that they are having an issue with time? And then number two, how did you sort of bridge the gap and decide, okay, this isn't working for me and I have to do something about it, instead of just staying in, this isn't working for me, but I'm just going to keep doing the same bad thing? And you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. And first and foremost, just to set the record straight with everybody, like I am not perfect, and I find flaws in my time and my schedule every single week, right? Because I'm a human, and sometimes I lead with heart, sometimes I lead with logic. And when I blend the two together, it allows me to be discerning. And sometimes I don't blend the two together, right? Sometimes I'm like, oh, this makes sense logically. Like, yeah, let me help you. And then it's like 2-hour conversation later, And now I have to, stay up 2 hours later tonight because I have responsible things that I need to do. I'm a man of my word. I said I'm going to do it. It's going to get done. So there isn't one of those like, oh, no big deal, just push it off to tomorrow, because it's got to get done. And when I allow someone to come into my life and I use logic to say, oh, that makes sense, let me help you, and then my heart comes in, it's like, oh, I want to help you overflow. Well, then I got to bounce back. I got to bounce back to that logic to say, your brain's saying yes, your heart's saying yes, but think about the big picture. And that's the piece of logic that I was missing for a long time, because it's like, let's just do the thing. Let's just help the people. It'll always come back to me. I believe 99% of humans are good. But when you start to think about the opportunity for it, or the percentage, that 1% of it not coming back, or that 1% of it being something that isn't in alignment, or that 1% of it being with someone that, or your guts may be saying like, oh, they've done this before, I shouldn't really do this. Those situations had to happen a million times for Jim Morris to figure this thing out, because at the end of the day, I was getting frustrated. And my lesson to everybody today is listen to those frustrations. Like when you're out of alignment, when you are, and for me, I can feel my blood pressure rising. I think I mentioned this before, but like I can literally feel it coming up in my body. And that's my physical identifier. Or when my ADHD is so bad that it's like I'm aware how bad it is, I'm usually out of alignment. So, when everybody says, oh, alignment, woo woo, or this or that, and like it's not woo woo because you define it. So if you're saying it's woo woo, then you're saying yourself is woo woo. Like I'm woo woo because I create it. I create what that level of discernment is, and I create how I manage my time. So at the end of the day, I think ultimately listen to that emotion when it comes up, figure out what the identifier is of it. For me, it's that blood pressure rising. And then what are you going to do about it? Well, how are you going to reflect upon it? You can ignore it because it's easier to ignore it. It will go away, right? Or you'll change your mindset, but it always doesn't go away. And it always doesn't change on the time you want it to change.
No, I land in the hospital generally.
Yeah.
And that's not even a joke. I get either severely ill or so sick I have to go to the emergency room. My body physically will create symptoms because I'm not listening to it. And people have to understand it'll start with a tap, right? Like God, the universe, whatever it is, your inner voice, whatever you call it, you'll feel a little tap of like, you might want to look at that a little bit. Like something's wrong here. And then it'll be like a little push. And then if you ignore it, you're straight up in the hospital or you're sick and you have to cancel everything, right? Your whole schedule's effed. So what Jim is basically saying is like, listen to those little indicators that your body is telling you. And I understand the feeling of I'm so busy, I can't even. But then imagine what it's like to then you get sick and all that busyness you have to cancel anyway, right? So do you want that end result or do you want to have to just take time to deal with it as it's happening and coming to you, right? And it's hard because like you work a lot, I work a lot. We say yes to everything, and that's an issue that like I had to start to learn to say no, right? Which is hard because I want to help you, but I also have to keep my health into consideration. I can't say yes to everything, and that was the hardest thing to come to that conclusion. So I understand that feeling like that as we're talking about it, your body might even be tensing up and it's like, well, what are they talking about? I don't have the time to even think about the time. You don't have the option not to, because it will catch up with you.
If we talk about the digitized world we live in and the issues that arise that we're all falling into from a societal norm, right? Like instead of consuming, having that entertainment brain where it's just entertainment, how do we flip it? How do we leverage the time? Do you set a timer on your phone to go, hey, let's do 10 minutes of doom scrolling, a week, or 5 minutes a day, whatever your schedule allows. But like, if you're doing 30 minutes, 40, and you reduce it down to 10, well, now you have 20 minutes to create. And that's that integration that we're talking about is like, you can find the time if you reflect on your time first. And that is the difference. You're never going to be able to figure out, okay, yeah, I can do that, or I need more time. Like every single scenario where I look at my calendar and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't have time. Boom. Yes, you do. Change the mind. Go look at the schedule, move the things, delay some things. Like that's the other thing that I realized too is, and this happens a lot with like podcast appearances for me, right? Like if I get on a podcast and then something happens in my business and I look at my schedule, a podcast appearance for me is not a priority based on what my business needs in the moment, based on what my family needs in the moment. So it's not that I cancel or not show up for people, but I get ahead of it because I'm reflecting on my time and I'm doing it in advance. So if I have a podcast appearance, today is Thursday and I have one next Friday and I'm reviewing my schedule this Friday, I'm looking at next week going, okay, I need to find time and maybe I need to remove this, where most people would be like, oh, it's a podcast, let me get on it. It's my one shot, one opportunity. Like that's not the case if that person wants you on the podcast and they're flexible around the fact that you push that schedule based on what you needed to do and what was a priority. That's you owning your time and owning your schedule. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to do it the right way and you have to be honest about it. Like that's not an email or a text. That's a phone call to say, hey, producer Rachel, I love the producer Rachel show. It's freaking awesome. Like you crush it. I'm actually super elated and excited to get on it next week, but I just wanted to call you and let you know some things happened in my business. This is what's going on, which caused me to push the schedule. And unfortunately, I can't make it. Can we reschedule? And I understand the level of inconvenience on this. So if the answer is no, I do understand. And I've never had anybody say, you're a jerk, Jim, or no, or I had one person say, we don't reschedule. And I said, great. I'm not going to argue that. I'm not going to fight that. I'm not going to give you an opinion around it. I get it. Like, and then I said, would you want me to help you find someone? Like I can call 10 people in the next 10 minutes and fill it. So you have to do those things the right way. You can't just be this gung-ho, my time matters and your time doesn't. Because I also learned that the hard way. If I expect something and want to receive it, I have to give it first. So if I do it right and I have to protect my time and I have to move things, then I expect to do it right when I'm on the other end of it.
What I've also noticed really quickly before we wrap up is, have you ever noticed that when you're feeling like a weird energy around something on your schedule, like you're stressed about it, or you feel like, I don't think I can just fit that in. A lot of times the person that you're calling to either cancel or reschedule is like, oh my God, thank God. Like I can't fit it in either. Does that make sense? Like I've had that happen a couple of times where I'm like, I'm just feeling this weird energy around this date. And like, I feel like I shoved it in and I really shouldn't have. And like, well, maybe they'll cancel. Or maybe I should just call and just say, hey, this isn't working. And every time, I'm not even kidding, every single time they're like, oh my God, thank God, let's reschedule, please. Like my schedule's packed and I can't fit this in either. So don't be scared to be the one to say like, hey, I'm feeling weird about this date. Can we reschedule? Because most of the time, if you're feeling that much energy around it, the other person, it's not fitting in their schedule either, but they're scared to say something to you. All right. So today's challenge is really start to feel about the energy around time and your schedule. Are you saying yes to things you don't want to say yes to, which means you're not honoring yourself, your true self? And then pay attention to how your body reacts to certain things that's on your schedule, that's coming up. And then obviously you, like Brian Covey, use the time that you do have where like you're present, but you can also be doing other things, whether it's listening to a podcast. Just don't doom scroll. Honestly, like start to pay attention to when you naturally just want to pick up the phone and doom scroll. That is time you can use to create and do other stuff with. Is that a good challenge for today? How do you feel about that?
I love it. I love it. And I would say when you get in the car next time, are you seeking entertainment from the radio and the CD player and listening to music, or are you
CD player?
or the radio. So I was gonna say radio, and I'm like radio. Like no,
Your
your cell phone. I
your
guess at
cell
this
phone.
point. Yeah. But are you going to integrate that time? That's the best example I can give, especially if you travel, especially if you are going appointment to appointment. Like that 10-minute drive, are you in entertainment mode, or are you creating new ideas and new thoughts? So I love the lesson.
When you're in true alignment with yourself and with others, it's the best. And don't be scared to be the one, don't be scared to be the one to say it, right? Like you're just giving yourself the space and that other person the space. Nobody's saying like it's over forever, except for that one podcast that doesn't reschedule, whatever. It's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. All right. Have a great day, everybody.